Okay. I need the price to go up. I can't take this anymore. Every day I'm checking the price and it's dipping. Every day I check the price, bad price. I can't take this anymore, man. I have overinvested by a lot. It is what it is, but I need the price to go up. Can devs do something?
I just can't take it anymore. The market being like this, it's all so fucked. I've lost so much. All I need is a sign. I just need a sign. I need a sign.
Best way to deal with road rage is to have a gun right next to you at all times. If anybody gives me trouble, I just pull out my little .45 hand cannon there from my Vietnam days, blow out their rear window. They leave me alone after that. If you're the kind of person that likes to cause trouble on the road, just be aware there's people like me out there. So the next time you feel that road rage coming on, wait till you get home. Take it out on your family or your dog. That's where it belongs.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Do not take it out on your family or your dog. Let's not get too crazy here, but hope everyone's doing well. It's been a hot minute since I've hopped on stream on my channel, so actually slight late game change of plans. Boogie was a little under the weather, and unfortunately Vagabond had some actually non-crypto life stuff come up at the last minute, so I'm running a solo stream today, so slight change of plans here. However, I figured I got a couple of things that have been kind of kicking around in the back of the brain that I wanted to talk about, and hopefully some folks will find some level of value in these things. So let's see what we got going on tonight. Let's see who we got rolling through the chat. Crypto Crossfire first. Indeed you are, my man. Appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Always appreciate it. The one and only BLX tuning in. Thanks, BLX. Looking forward to catching up in person, man, and having some of these chats in person in 25. Brandon. Yeah, we're going to get to it. Loading up on the hopium. Well, man, I was talking a little bit yesterday on Boogie Stream potentially that I am eyeballing what may be a late Q1, early Q2 top. Again, not saying it will be the top, but a top. Obviously, that all has to do with market conditions. And as conditions change, so too will some of those projections. I'm just calling it like I see it at this moment in time. Jay, back to back. I'm for it. I appreciate the support as always, Jay, man. It's been a good time. And Hex Glenn, good to see you, man. Good to see you. So, all right, let's get down to a few things. Let me kind of flip through and just kind of eyeball a few things in the news. Then with tonight's slight shakeup, I figured I would run you guys and the audience through how I've successfully managed to find a handful of tokens. So if you've been following myself and Boogie on our tacos and kimchi stream, we brought you AXGT, we brought you GIGA. I did mention TITS as a really back end off the cuff scratcher to Boogie a few weeks back. I wasn't super public about that one because I'm like, this is just too idiotic. But lo and behold, I ripped out like a 28x on it. So I was like, all right. Clearly, the system is somewhat working, so I figured I'd just talk a little bit about the system I use to go through and try to find some of these things. Anyway, all right, let's get down to it. Let me start running you through just a few things I'm eyeballing in the broader crypto space, and we'll get rocking. Part of the challenge here is, I've certainly been informed by Charlie and his ways. I got way too many friggin' tabs. Hey, Z, good to see you, man. Appreciate you rolling through. All right, let me start with numero uno. So for anyone kind of following along, I think we're going to see one of the things I had mentioned to Boogie and DCC some months back was one of the things I'm eyeballing is to watch more companies use Bitcoin in its corporate treasury. So obviously Sailor Moon with MicroStrategies has very famously done this. I know Reddit has had off and on cryptos holdings, as has Tesla. Rumble recently also tossing their name into the ring as far as planning on acquiring Bitcoin as part of its overall reserves. So in this case, they're going to be throwing in 20 million on that front as part of a diversification strategy. I know Sailor has successfully been using a bonding strategy with his MicroStrategy options and has one of the runaway performers for stocks, certainly of the year, and one of the all-time comeback stories. He recently did an interview, The woman's name escapes me, but it was in one of Saylor's villas. And he talked about what really opened his eyes in a lot of ways and really forced him to take a bigger look at Bitcoin was the pandemic and some of the shutdowns that they ran into during that period of time. So what ended up happening on that front was Saylor realized, hey, office spaces are closed and I can't really make people go to work. We can't move and we are hemorrhaging cash. And so my options are find a way to adapt and survive or pack it up and call it a day. MicroStrategy previously was a business intelligence company. And so, Saylor's a smart dude. I think he's got 2 MIT degrees in engineering. I want to say like aerodynamics and maybe fluid, maybe it's aerospace engineering, but super, super smart dude, regardless. And so his stance was, hey, let me find a way to keep playing the game because the name of the game is to be able to keep playing the game. There is no end to it. Also, over the course of that interview, Saylor did mention, okay, the BTC maximalist was somewhat driven by Bitcoin being ruled a commodity and not necessarily having other cryptos ruled under those conditions. So there is no second best, but turns out other things are maybe second best. Let's see. Z's got a little tidbit here. The TLDR from the Tornado Cash lawsuit updates. Immutable contracts are not property. Yes, I did. I haven't dove into that. Thanks, Z, for the quick update that did briefly cross my desk on that one. And I saw Richard retweeted some elements of that as well. So real exciting times. Maybe that 25 goated bull run of all time. Maybe this truly is it. The perfect storm to give a shout out to the guys over at the DRT team, the DGen Roundtable. Go give them a follow. Yeah, fingers crossed, man. I'm certainly hoping it gets me up and out of my normal daytime grind. Speaking of grinding, Art Suave. Hey, man, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. All right. So let's see. Next topic I wanted to get to before we get a couple more topics, and then we'll run through how I go hunting for some tokens on that front is we have over in the UK, they are going to wait until 2026 to launch an official crypto policy, and they're reporting nearly 1 in 8 adults hold crypto over in the UK. So another potential L, but at least progress in the right direction over there in the UK on this front. And average crypto holdings rose from around 1595 to 1842 pounds over in the UK. So hopefully they get some level of regulatory clarity. Obviously, the UK is struggling on a number of fronts. If anyone's somewhat following the news, in this case, they said one of the things that prompted some of their decisions to start making more aggressive moves is that the UK is in danger of becoming an outlier because of the whole Brexit elements. Also, too, they have the EU MICA regulation coming into full force at the end of the year, plus the change in the U.S. administration, aka the Trump presidency, heralding a fresh and crypto-friendly approach to the U.S. It's really crazy for me to think about as far as the UK. They went from, whatever size their island is relative to other state sizes and ruling effectively the world to now being reduced back to their little island, within, I don't know, 5 generations, something crazy, maybe not even. Just really, really interesting to see what they got going on over there. But some forward progress for our brothers and sisters over in the UK in the crypto space. And Jay contemplating the implications are for Roman Storm, Alexei already in prison. And so, Jay, here's my speculation on this one. Again, I've only briefly skimmed through some of the headlines and skimmed through elements of Richard's posting on this one. I suspect the ruling will be favorable for Code, but they're going to stick it to the people, Roman and Alexei, on other charges, like some element of, who knows, KYC or laundering, or you knew this and you did that. So they won't be able to get them for the smart contract is my suspicion. They will get them for other behaviors or behaviors they did or did not do on that front. So if the U.S. Treasury considers smart contracts as not as property, not having an owner, I wonder the tax implication is of contracts holding tokens, not tax advice. No, we don't do any sort of tax advice or financial advice over here. We only do financial guarantees around these parts.
Jackpot, bitch! Jackpot!
All right. So, making friends and enemies wherever we go on this stuff. Cool. Let me see. What was the last one I had for y'all that I wanted to get to is, this is a GameFi space one, since I know a lot of us are waiting for GameFi to pop off. And let me pull this up. Avalanche is testing what they're calling their 9,000 upgrade. They've got 40 million in retroactive grants that they're going to be applying as part of this upgrade, hitting testnet for a planned 2025 launch. So Off the Grid, currently running on, Gunzilla Games, which I believe is sitting on one of those Avalanche side chains on that front. Side note, I am awaiting to see if Gunzilla Games has a token. They've hinted at one in their Discord. I haven't seen anything definitive as of yet. So in this case, the Avalanche 9000 testnet, which is an upgrade for cheaper and easier L1s, went live yesterday, Monday. Yeah, yesterday on that front. And they're going to dish out 40 million in retroactive grants to builders, plus 2 million, of which includes 2 million in referrals. So it should go to the prod network or mainnet sometime in 2025. I'm sure they're trying to, again, somewhat time the market on that front. I did briefly play Off the Grid. I thought it was a really smooth, well-handling shooter. I know it's got some streamer attention on that front. So here's to hoping it continues to do well. Between that, Alluvium, some other things, I think we've got some AAA titles coming online here very shortly. So, all right, let me pull up a couple of things over here and we'll get ripping on. Here's how I have gone hunting for some tokens. So over the last several months, again, had a solid AXGT call, GIGA, and TITS on those tokens, which have done some pretty solid returns over the last several months. And so, hey, Z's at the top of the list. One of my critical tools in my arsenal for finding some of these things is Twitter. And I keep a fairly sanitized, not entirely sanitized, but fairly sanitized stream or feed on Twitter. You do want to be somewhat ruthless with your cultivation on that. So I've got my personal bullshit Twitter and my crypto and a little bit of politics and a little bit of AI and a little bit of overlap on that one for my alternate Twitter. I don't necessarily keep it 100% crypto on that one, especially this election cycle, because I want to know who had what going on with aspects of politics and crypto and the intersection there. Also too, AI elements and medical elements are always interesting to me. So in this case, I generally trust my For You on this. And you can see, actually, shout out to Z. In this case, this only happened because Chevron was overturned. Let me give you a quick retweet on this one, Z. So in this case, Z also interacting with Richard Hart, his tweet on this one and promoting it. So I generally trust the feed on that one. If I want to go pull specific stuff, again, I'm generally going to be following some combination of medicine, AI, and decentralized science and crypto and Jim Cramer doing the Jim Cramer thing. Turkey Dick for the holidays. Shout out to Johnny Chaos and some other folks. But, again, I generally keep my follow list pretty tight on this. And then I generally trust the For You feeds on this. So let's see here. Alan Rogers retweeting or tagging Axendao, Griff, who's one of the head guys for key influencers, key account leaders, or key opinion leaders surrounding Giga, and Kobe SC Letter, which I use them for a number of my macro news cultivations. Doge, courtesy of Elon and Vivek. Let's see, Ian Carroll, some politics. HVID hitting my feed as a result of Pulse Chain. Evgeny Kalishnikov for some more crypto stuff. So again, in this case, the Twitter feed is one of my key tools that I have on this front. So I try to keep that relatively clean. Next up is, let's say there's a few things that have maybe caught my attention and or some stuff I want to kind of eyeball. One of my next stops is often going to be the coin market cap tracking site, something like CoinGecko, Coin Market Cap, Gecko Terminal, some other things like that. I think, side note, Gecko Terminal is correctly listing Pulse Chain's total market cap. I haven't eyeballed them recently. Actually, let me go pull that up and see if that is the case. Indeed, they are. Check out this. I saw, I think it was Hexy and the 9mm guys were tweeting this out earlier on this. Check this out. chain rankings on Gecko Terminal from CoinGecko. Look who's sitting at number 3. So shout out to the Pulse Chain and Hex believers and Richard Hart fans and believers. We did 77 million in volume on a 24-hour basis. And what's that? About 5.78, 5.8, let's call it bill locked up over there. So, obviously we don't necessarily have the transaction volume of Ethereum, but sitting comfortably by way of TVL in the number 3 slot on that front. Pretty exciting, pretty spicy. Yeah. So cool. And shout out to my brother, Boogie. All right. So next thing what I would do is, in this case, I generally visit CoinGecko. I've also periodically used Coin Paprika, CoinMarketCap. Just tend to use CoinGecko for a few different reasons. And I'll cover those reasons here very momentarily. So next I would hop over to CoinGecko. Why do I also use CoinGecko? Well, I've got them. My time is pretty limited, somewhat by choice. I just got too many interests, and I do work in the diagnostics medicine field during my daytime gig. I've worked in ISIT, large-scale informatics, for a number of years now. Sometimes there are no days off, and there is the emergency call and the like. Thankfully, I'm a little further removed from that at this point. I've had the opportunity to work with and cultivate some good talent over the years. So I do like to invest periodically in tools and teams and things like that. So I mentioned this the other night on Boogie Stream. I've got Boogie, who I can offload and trust with a lot of the TA side of things. I've got connections over in the DRT team who I can offload and trust, or at least bounce ideas by them, or sit there and say, oh, I know, like J, Z, they're going to be really diligent about their TA on that. I can talk to Nate about some of the FA stuff, or I can just drop comments in their chat and we'll get a good dialogue going. So I think collectively we're all trying to find answers, and everyone's looking for a little bit of an edge to help the corresponding community and team members out. But I don't have to run down every single rabbit hole myself. Anyway, I like using tools. CoinGecko, I have my portfolio set up, and all I do over here is I just tag the coins I'm interested, or kind of eyeballing on the side. I just, so I can see, okay, 24-hour dips, I'll expect to see a lot of red because Bitcoin's dropping off. I expect to see a bunch of other stuff dropping off. You can see, like, I've got some other things like DOT, ASI, IMX, Thorchain, Gala, Beam, Helium. Do I necessarily hold these tokens? Not every single one of these. Some of them I've just kind of had in the back of my brain and potentially looking at Snag, We Love TITS, Giga, some of the meme token plays, Ponke, and like, so if I'm skimming through and I'm sitting there saying like, hey, I've got some profits or I've got some dry powder, what maybe hasn't pumped yet on a 7-day interval or 30-day interval or whatever, especially if I don't have a bag in that position, and I may elect to rotate some profits or deploy some dry capital in dry powder into some of those tokens to start building out a position. Anyway, let me hop back out to cryptocurrency over here. So we are rocking with a 3.3 odd market cap today on that front. Obviously, a lot of red out there as people are potentially selling off for assorted reasons. Could be tax scenarios. Could be they're just profitable enough. Could be any number of reasons on that. They don't want to. Maybe they've round tripped from last cycle and they're like, you know what? It's already starting to slide a little bit. We didn't break 100K. I'm getting a little gun shy. Let me run for the door. I know Charlie was talking potentially about some capitulation scenarios on that front. And shout out to Jay. I know Jay was talking about if we broke through the, 90.8 K level, we would drop to maybe, 85 and some change, 86 and some change on that front. So, at this point in time, my bags are majority packed. I've just got some dry powder, but I am periodically looking to take some positions in some new stuff. So personally, what I would do is I'd hop over to categories and I'd take a look at some stuff. Similarly, hey, what's pumped in 7 days or hasn't pumped? Liquid staking, that's not something I'm really deep into, and I don't necessarily have like an intuitive feel and flow for, so I might bypass that. Modular blockchain, e-girl capital. Okay. Anyway, so I can look at a few different things here. Okay, gaming's up based on this portfolio, and this is what CoinGecko has labeled as being liquid staking, sidechain, gaming, and whatever else. Let's say maybe I'll tell you, like, this was some of the aspects I use in researching Giga and some other things. I might sit there and say, go with, actually, let's do DSci. Is it under science? Might have to roll through this. Thinking. Or not. There we go. All right, decentralized science. So again, going back to like AXGT and stuff like that. So I take a look at this, and if I'm looking to make larger gains, I'm probably going to need to take more risks. Got to risk it for the biscuit on this front. And what I would do is I would take a look. I'm going to sort by market cap, and I know a lot of people say, "Hey, market cap versus FDV." It's a market cap is in somewhat of a vanity metric, or FDV can also somewhat be a vanity metric. What I'm looking for is ideally, at first pass, I want to see market cap and FDV, fully diluted value, be relatively 1-to-1. Thankfully, CoinGecko has this nifty ratio already outlined for me. Is it absolute necessity? No. But do I look at things more favorably if it is a little higher? Yes. That's just me personally. I know I've mentioned something like, what was it? I invested in AGX. And on first pass, it looked a little wonky, but then you look out, it's like a 100-year lockup and 100-year release schedule. So I wasn't going to get too bent out of shape on it. So come back around to, let me just click back over to my CoinGecko tab. And I would look at this and I would sit there and go, okay, what are we looking at for market cap? Me personally, if I'm taking a little more of a long shot bet and I'm looking for better returns, I'm personally looking for something under 100 mil market cap. GIGA, I caught between 10 and 14 mil. AXGT, I also caught between 10 and 14 mil off the top of my head on that front. We love TITS. I think I was closer to 30 mil on that one. I was looking for a meme token. Also, too, sometimes stuff pops up in my Twitter feed or whatever else. Titties in my Twitter feed on that one. So in this case, I can tell you, like when I started checking out AXGT, I was looking for a decentralized science project because I was looking for an intersection of like AI and medicine and some other things. And I'd looked at it previously and like just hadn't investigated it. But now that I had more dry powder, I wanted to check it out. So you can see I bookmarked it too as part of my portfolio. At the time, again, this was probably sitting around 20 mil market cap, 10, 20, 10, 14, 20, somewhere in that band. And you would sit there and go, okay, the fully diluted value looks a little sketch. What's going on with that? And I would agree with you in principle. So I would click into this, just kind of eyeball some stuff on it. How's it looking? Like, what's the chart looking like? Okay, it said its all-time high when? Back in March 2024. Cycle 1 token. Cool. Looks good. There's this big drawdown. It survived after that, and it's putting in some higher lows and higher highs. Granted, we're rolling off as the market is rolling over a little bit too. Let's see here. I would look at this total supply. It looks 1 billion tokens. So there aren't all that many tokens in the grand scheme of things. And cool. Okay. Decentralized science. What's it do? Well, let me hop over to here, hop over to the page, and let me flip this online. So they say building the future of DeSci. All right, cool. 20,000 plus holders, projects under development, 5 official listings. Cool. They've either paid the fee or gone through the process to get listed. Interesting stuff over here. They are, by the way, in the NVIDIA incubator program. Let's see, working with neural networks, monetization of research. That sounds a little interesting to me. Research protocol. Okay, fine. ERC20 token, good deal. They got a grant from Polygon, accelerator program. Gitcoin, I'm not familiar with. They want a health reimagine with blockchain and AI. Interesting. 2 prominent audits. Okay, projects. This is the stuff that they got planned. So A+ voice, I would check that out. And let's see, maybe it's a little busted on that, or the PHP is not working with it. There we go. So precognitive voice analysis, pretty interesting. It's been in motion. They got a planned budget of 45,000. I can tell you this project is active and running. They want to do things like monitor your biomarkers for things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, PTSD, and Huntington's disease. So what they do is over time, they have a mechanism to capture data and perform comparisons against other people have submitted data and other bodies of data with AI tools to help try to find preliminary, proactive, predictive diagnostics on this stuff. So, hey, based on your voice sample, your age, height, weight, demographic, location, there's a 23.7% chance you're showing early symptoms of Huntington's, which, side note, if you are, I am very sorry for you. So you should probably try to get ahead of that or get some further diagnostics done. Now, imagine do this for things like, concussions out to other elements here. They want to take a look at cognition monitoring for things like psychedelic speech profiles and Cure OS. So side note, they will be shipping a wearable with this operating system they've built out, integrated into it, where you will be able to capture and monetize your data. Because think about aspects of like Fitbit or people who maybe use Samsung or Apple smartwatches. I'm sure that data is being used elsewhere. Yeah, there might be certain privacy laws to what extent they can use the data and individually identifiable information, but to double blind it, right? What if we can sit there and keep you anonymous as you can be on chain, and say, hey, every time we use Z's biometric data, you get a kickback of 2 AXGT tokens, or like, it's pretty cool, right? Like you're getting something for it, and you're also potentially contributing to better health for all parties. So in this case, okay, cool. Let's see here. Let's go with the team. A CEO, chief science officer, tech officer, a bunch of other folks, a bunch of MDs on the advisory board, which, okay, look, people are incentivized, right? Like they get paid. All right. And then I would start drilling into things like their LinkedIns and their Twitters just to figure out what they got going on with that. I'm not going to fully drill into those because I don't want to dox myself or some other people on that front. Then I would hop over to the white paper. It is dinging me and saying it may be jank. We're going to roll the dice. Cool. Here is the overall white paper. And so I would take a look at things like, okay, I would actually read through something like this because it's the intersection of AI and medicine, collaboration and partnerships. Okay, interesting. Again, they have a HP deal where HP is giving them some hardware and tech and some AI tool support as well. So number of positive elements on there. You submit, it goes to a community vote, go, no go for certain things. Then I would go into the token details. They're on 3 networks. You can bridge. Okay, adding AXGT to MetaMask. Okay, let me skip over to the tokenomics. So 1% total buy and sell fee. So why not have it build for itself? 1/3% to the admin ops, 1/3% to compound and lock for the LP, 1/3% to the DeSci fund. So in this case, that FDV that we saw earlier, that potential mismatch of market cap versus fully diluted value, that's partially driven by the locked in the multi-sig vault scenario and just the way it shows up and gets reported on chain. I haven't been able to find any other way to disprove it. That's been a steady claim of the AXGT team in the Telegram for quite some time. And they've had, I would say, solid opportunities to rug the communities if they needed to. So they haven't done it yet. I feel very confident in this project so far. So I've elected to pony up some cash into it. I would eyeball vesting allocations and then eyeball some of the different elements on how they plan on spending or locking stuff up. I was comfortable with it. I elected to said, okay, looking pretty good. Now talk to me about the AXGT token utilities. Exclusive access, voting rights, submission privileges, direct funding of research, convert data into cash ETH BTC. You will convert your IP to so on and so forth, and then which can then be converted into other tokens. Tipping your favorite scientists, early access, ongoing utility evolution. Take a look at the backing and treasury. There are 2 different elements because there's the Axon DAO LLC and there's the AXGT DAO itself. In this case, the token backing is primarily through ETH USD on this front. So I would say, okay, last one I would eyeball is AXGT audits. They've got a list of ongoing audits that they've posted over here. I would sit there and say, okay, that went through it. They look fairly positive. Cool. Let me take a break here and get a refill. Oh, let's see. wow, I guess it didn't carry over on the screen. So let me quickly correct that over here. So this is the white paper on this front. And let me just quickly rip through all this stuff, all the topics. So again, I would look at the roadmap, Axendow at NVIDIA GTC, introduction of DPIN project, done, right? So they've already gone through 1, 8, 9. This is in progress. 9 is in progress. And 1 in progress. And they've actually launched, in the process of launching a wearable ring on this element, which isn't even reflecting the roadmap. So they might have had it in the works, just kind of kept it a little hush-hush, but that is forthcoming. I think the number one ring in the world, is like Aura in whatever, Fitbit wearables. And those are like, $100 billion companies, I think, by way of market cap. Again, I would take a look at the AXGT token details. So they confirm that they're multi-chain. I would eyeball the tokenomics where they outline the fee breakdown and the allocations. So half of it is locked in a multi-sig vault. So that would give me some level of confidence on that front. They get into the pre-sale and the different allocations and how LPs get used. 40 million AXGT appointed for maintaining liquidity, of which less than 10% is in use at time of writing. Related token utilities on this. And if that all comes back, and I feel pretty good about that, I would look at the token backing and treasury and the audits and KYC. So if I'm feeling pretty comfortable with that, one of the next things I would do is hop over to Dex Screener personally on this one. And let's see what we got going on here. Art saying like, hey, wanted to really wait till next year to take profit and avoid capital gains. Didn't expect to take some plays off this early. Hey man, you got to get it while the getting's good, right? It is what it is, Paying taxes means you made money. And from there, we're really debating max profit versus some profit versus, breaking even, no profit. Hey, Create, thanks for coming through, man. Appreciate the support. Anyway, let me hop over to the Dex Screener tab on this front. And when I punch in AXGT, we would see that, okay, they got a few different pools potentially in play here. Looks like there's a small pool in Polygon with virtually no liquidity. So I would rule that out. No liquidity, rule that out. Let's see here. Most of the liquidity, it looks like, is on Uniswap on the Ethereum network. They've got 143 grand on Uniswap on the base network, 112 grand on the Arbitrum network. So vast majority of liquidity concentrated on the Ethereum side. Potentially, if you're really watching this, you might have some arbitrage opportunities between some of the other L2s and Ethereum mainnet. I had a question from somebody on Telegram today, like, hey, what is arbitrage under like those conditions? So we're actually talking about Phantom and Sonic. And I said, all right, in this case, in the example we were talking about, one Phantom is always going to trade for one Sonic, at least at first on that bridge. But maybe one Phantom is worth $1.20, but one Sonic is worth $1.50. What you could potentially do is buy the Phantom, bridge it over, convert it to Sonic, sell that out for cash, bring it back over, buy more Phantom, bring it over to Sonic, sell for cash, rinse, repeat. Now, for other things like that, looking at AXGT, depending on how eagle-eyed you are, you may have some arbitrage opportunities here. In this case, it's all fairly close. I mean, we're talking what? Slightly over 1 cent, best case, maybe not even. I wouldn't even bother with that. Like, that's just not worth my time. And it's probably just not economically viable. But what I would do is I would go take a look at this. And as you can see here, this Boogie, myself, and some other folks have been looking at this and talking about this. Let me hide all my stuff on it. Okay, interesting. Let's make sure I'm on auto log. Cool. And just make sure I got everything I need. Yep. On the daily. So crazy overall run up. Did a little bit of consolidation here. Punch up, retrace, punch, retrace, rinse, repeat, grind down, and going up to the right. Over here, peak in mid-March which kind of coincides with the overall market peak. So I'm not going to ultra hold that against it. What would be things that also interest me would be if I look at that peak and I look at the drawdown here, would have been an 80% drawdown, would have been a 90% drawdown over here at the bottom during like August timeframe under those conditions. And so, okay, 90% drawdown, still active, and then still grinding up under those conditions. So at this case, like when I was sharing some of the information on YouTube last, I think you would be like, if you bought around here, bought around here, bought around here, you should average out to be around 186% up. As last time I updated this chart, as of today, you'd be up 120% on that. Okay, real interesting on that front. So cycle one coin, utility, decentralized science, bit of narrative. Side note, CZ's been talking a lot about decentralized science more recently. So hopefully this catches his attention. You know, it throws a little tailwind behind it under those conditions. But yeah, so surviving 90% drawdown, cycle one token, 21,000 and some change holders on this. I would investigate this address. I believe this is either the LP or I believe that's the LP address. In general, though, not that people can't have multiple wallets. Looks like, 1% or less in the vast majority of wallets, and 14% here. So this wallet holds the vast majority, or this address is reported to hold the vast majority of it. I eyeball the liquidity providers. Again, most of that liquidity is funded and continually being recycled and locked up on that. And then I'm sure there's some ancillary pools. Other stuff I would take a look at over here. The market cap sitting at 56.5 versus FDV. So we know we got some stuff moving around. I would sit there and say, okay, based on all my research, push came to shove, I said, okay, I'm willing to take a chance on this, and it worked out pretty well. Other stuff over here would be, let me hide some of this out, is you could see it did outpace ETH. So that was the other reason I got into it. Is, it's like, basically, if you're not outpacing ETH and BTC, you should have just held ETH and BTC. So I know not everyone will look at ratios. I don't profess to be a rock star technical analyst, but I do eyeball charts to see if there are opportunities to potentially ratio trade back and forth, especially if I'm not necessarily putting a whole lot of new capital into the market. I'm basically trying to keep my dry powder on the side, waiting for a few opportunities I think that will arise in the next several weeks and in Q1. Particularly, I'm looking for Sonic. But based on the type of project I was looking for, which I might have come across by way of a narrative on my Twitter feed, I would have gone to CoinGecko, looked at the CoinGecko category, sifted through stuff by market cap. For mad gains, I'm looking for something under 100 mil market cap, maybe even as far down as like sub 20 mil market cap. Yes, it is higher risk. So, Boogie's aware of how much I spent or didn't spend on Giga, quite frankly, and what that ended up working out to be for me on that front. You have to take a little bit more risk under those conditions. So I position size down a little bit as well. And then if it runs up, great. Now, personal opinion, AXGT, at least a $1 billion project, personally. I feel pretty comfortable in saying that. So where does that roughly leave us? If they go to a bill, it's like another 17, 18x on here. So food for thought. I don't think that ship has, set sail entirely as of yet. I still think you got time to get in, especially if we continue dipping down. I'll probably load up some more on this one. I also, using that whole research methodology, where I went through and let me just pull up CoinGecko again here just to kind of talk through some other ones that also made the cut based on my research. Not that they're all performing, not that they're all going to run at the same time, but they did make the cut for me. Or Data Lake, I picked up some of this. So far, I'll tell you, AXGT has been running better. Data Lake supplies some of the data layers for some of these types of projects, and WellShare Health Token, which is doing something somewhat similar to AXGT. So my general strategy here was I wanted to get a position on what I think are going to have some of the best use cases, most likely to have solid run-up type of healthcare decentralized science project. And in the case of healthcare, just collectively worldwide, we have a generally aging population. We're going to have replacement population problems here on the horizon for many, many countries, if we don't already. I believe in the future of blockchain, that blockchain as a tech or decentralized ledgers or whatever you want to call them, that future is inevitable for far more than just, magic internet money. I do believe for deeds, records, sports tickets, membership cards, the list goes on and on. It's inevitable. It's going to move to that kind of element of, that kind of technological stack. Do I think healthcare needs to move to it? Not every aspect of it. There are some major problems like proof of personhood while remaining anonymous. That's a huge, huge concern for healthcare. But I'm here to make mad gains. So if they got the right narrative, sure, I'll throw some money on them, some scratchers on them. Similar to what I did for Pulse Chain. In Pulse Chain, I wanted a position in all the major DEXs. I wanted to own a slice of all of them. So I've got PulseX tokens. I've got 9mm tokens. I've got BBC and 9-inch tokens because I figured all that volume is run and money is running somewhere. Now, is the majority of my holdings in the RH primaries? Absolutely. But I wanted to deploy a similar strategy. What do I think are going to be the top 2 or 3 DeSci tokens, or at least primed to make mad gains? And so if, in this case, AXGT, 55 mil market cap, WellShare, 20 mil, Data Lake, 14 mil, then they've got a lot of runway. If you go back and actually look at the history of things, actually, let me go to CoinMarketCap and pull up the historic ones. And for those not familiar with it, let me show you how to do that. You can go over here and let me see here if I can remember where the hell it is. It was historic snapshots. So CoinMarketCap cryptocurrency historic snapshots. It was 2021. And depending on which tokens you were looking at, it was like October, November timeframe. Let me pick, I'm going to go with November 7th just for shits and giggles on this one. So if you look at the overall market caps of this, granted, at that point in time, I'd have to go back and look at what the total is on that front, but you can see basically top 100 projects were all coming in at $1 billion or more. And so if not that the money will trickle in and the apportionments will be proportional, or the allocations will be proportional on that, aka it may be more of a winner take all game where the top 5 just consume 80% of it. Not saying it'll be that way, but it's very well possible this cycle. If you compare last cycle, top ones made it to $1 billion. So do I think something like AXGT is potentially a top 100 token? Yeah, I do. Am I biased? Potentially. What if I'm half right? Well, it only goes from 55 million to 500 million. Oh no, I only made like an 8x on it. Worst problems to have in the grand scheme of things. It is more speculative. Now, if it does, goes gangbusters, and this is where you potentially can get yourself into some moon math trouble and start moving targets around too much. If it goes gangbusters and gets to something like 15, 20 bill, then, what does that potentially mean for some of the market prices on that front? And since I'm here, let me just do this. If I'm on AXGT, there's only 1 billion tokens, of which there's far less for a circulating supply. So currently there's 178 million tokens on that. So your potential to make mad gains on something like this is pretty significant on that. It is getting dumped right now. Again, the market's kind of rolling over. I think it's a strong project, but I think the key takeaways would be, okay, I feel like I have a hole in my portfolio. What is the sector? Go pull up the sector on something like CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap. Okay, now that I pulled up the sector, what are the market caps versus fully diluted values? is the market cap under 100 mil? It's not saying I wouldn't necessarily be against something at like, 200 mil or 500 mil. Just your potential for mad gains is going to be higher if you can pick a winner in a sub 100 mil, sub 50 mil, sub 20 mil market cap, right? You're going to make more money by picking a winner early or catching a pump on something early under those conditions. And so from there, I would determine my allocation of money or capital I want to put into it, make the deployment, and then I would start setting up alerts for, hey, this is my token. So when it hits this price point, I need to get an alert pushed to my phone or through my Telegram or whatever. Time to take some money off the table. Also, too, as part of that research, I would eyeball something like Dex Screener, Holder Scan, compare market cap of, and other things just to poke around on that, make sure it's passed some audits. And then if I like everything I'm seeing, I throw some money at it. So that's kind of the methodology I use on that front. Hey, Diamond Man, good to see you, man. Cool. All right. Let's see if we got anything else going on this evening. Rolling through the chat. Yeah. Pulse Chain made number 3 on CoinGecko. Hell yeah. Super awesome. Pump our bags. Richard Hart active. Favorable rulings, I think, for smart contracts as a result of Tornado Cash rulings, which will extend to some of our stuff and other chains on that front. So I just threw down the research methodology for you. I hope that all helps on that front. You can find me on Twitter. My links will be down below. I'm at Mr. Angry Twinkie on everything until, was it Hostess, Smuckers? I think Smuckers bought out Hostess until they step in and give me the, legal smackdown on it. Then I'll have to move on to some alter egos I've prepped on that front. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter or Telegram. I will catch you all soon.